Crystal Beast have received what is quite possibly the most powerful equip spell in the entirety of Yu-Gi-Oh! And that is Golden Rule. This thing reads like a damn custom card. This single card can entirely change the way in which this deck functions. It gives it so much more power going second. I have a bunch of replays lined up here, a lot of which are just going second and absolutely obliterating people using Golden Rule OTK. It makes your Ruby Carbuncle super powerful. We're running it at 3 in this particular list. You probably don't want to run it at 3 in an optimal list, but I was just dicking around, testing stuff out. But yeah, Golden Rule is absolutely phenomenal, very easily searched for, and enables insane levels of damage, as well as even building upon your end board, making access to rank 8 significantly easier, being access to rank 4 is even easier. So yeah, all in all, it definitely makes the deck a lot more powerful. And I don't know if this is probably not the optimal way of building it. You probably want to lean more into the control aspect of the deck, but I just kind of wanted to go ham with Golden Rule a little bit for this particular deck profile. I do want to revisit Mathmech Crystal Beast with this, because I still think Mathmech Crystal Beast is my favorite way of playing it. I do think, I don't know if it's better per se, but I definitely prefer it. It feels like a more active playstyle. It feels like a more consistently powerful playstyle rather than regular Crystal Beast, which can sometimes feel a little bit lackluster, but its control usually makes up for it. So yeah, we're going to be looking at this here today. We'll be looking at Crystal Beast Mathmech at some point in the near future with Golden Rule, so stick around for that and subscribe to make sure you catch the video as it comes out. Like this video to help out with the interaction, and leave down below what you think about Crystal Beast and their newest support. How powerful do you think Crystal Beast is? I'm really impressed by it. We went in, we got promoted from Diamond 3 to Diamond 2 in the few games that we played. We were just winning non-stop. Not all of them felt deserved, but we were just winning non-stop with this deck, and it's hard to explain why. It's like Makonko. Like, I can't tell you why I'm winning these games, but we're winning them, and it's just working, so I'ma keep doing it. So, card for card deck profile at the end of the video for those who maybe aren't the most familiar with Crystal Beast and want to get a look at that. But for those of us who have, of course, seen our previous videos on it, you probably have a good idea of what exactly it is you're looking at. So let's just get into the gameplay. Alrighty, getting into game 1 here. We are going second, but luckily we opened up with the Shifter, which is hopefully going to slow down our opponent. Up against some Labyrinth here. We actually faced quite a bit of Labyrinth in High Diamond. Which, probably just people trying to sort of push their way into Masters now using Labyrinth. Very powerful deck, of course, being tier 3 on the current tier list. Setting 2, setting up their field spell, and passing on their Shifter. Very understandable. Shifter's a pretty difficult card to get rid of. We're going to go for our Shield Bearer here, banishing itself from our hand directly to search for one of our Wind Beast monsters from our deck. They're going to summon Ariana from their deck here to search their deck for another card, which is interesting. I guess their other face-down card must be Big Welcome, because they still have the field spell here. We're going to go for Rainbow Bridge, searching our deck for Crystal Bond. Crystal Bond, of course, is going to grant us access to another Pegasus here. We have Golden Rule in hand, placing a Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon on the field. Going to activate its effect, summoning out a Cobalt Eagle and searching for the Rainbow Dragon. Normal summoning out our another Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus here. Sapphire Pegasus, my nose is really itchy. What is going on there? Bringing out the lady here, Sapphire Pegasus, playing another Rainbow Dragon into the extra monster zone here. I can't help but sometimes just misread this card and not understand how it works fully here. So here, this is something I want to show off because this is a very easy card to get wrong. What you need to do with this is you need to make sure that you have basically spare copies of the card that you don't want to summon available to you. You need to have copies of the cards of all 3 of your main Crystal Beasts available in your deck or hand or something like that at all times, because otherwise you're going to force yourself into positions like this where you summon a suboptimal card like the Rainbow Dragon. We wanted to summon Ruby Carbuncle, but it's not the end of the world. Into the battle phase, going to swing in at the lady here. They're going to go Imperm on our monster, but we're going to go Abyss Dweller because we might as well, I suppose. We're going to negate the activation of anything in the graveyard over the next turn here, because he does have some things active in the graveyard. They're going to bring back a Chandelier. We're going to take out the lady here. Lady, of course, getting banished, as well as the Chandelier. Got a pretty sizable back row here, going into Zeus. And against a deck that uses back rows such as Labyrinth, Zeus is one of your primary win conditions, and you'll notice our opponent doesn't stick around very much. So that's an important lesson in misusing Golden Rule. It's a very easy card to misuse. and you are going to get it wrong on occasion. What you ideally want to use Golden Rule for, and I'm pretty sure I have it in one of my replays, is you want to stack your back row with your dragons and your Pegasus, and you want to summon a Carbuncle, which will then flood the field, right? That's the goal. That's ideally what you want to be doing. But yes, again, still able to go for lethal damage. I did want to show off a Zeus game because Zeus is one of your primary win conditions, especially in a back row meta, where a lot of decks are playing a lot of back row. Maybe not a lot of decks, maybe that's an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. There's quite a lot of back row going around in terms of mid-range or even just full control strategies, so knowing that you have constant access to Zeus is a very reassuring thought. But anyways, let's get into game 2. Alrighty, going second again. Like I said, this is sort of trying to just show off Golden Rule a little bit going second. We are going to try and open up with Max C, but our opponent does have the Ash Blossom, so they do manage to shut us down here. Into the main phase, they're going to go for my friend Pearly. Easiest Ash in my life. Again, Pearly is not the most difficult deck in the world to shut down. I feel like it gets a bit of a reputation for being unstoppable. You just got to know what your targets are. Pearly Lee and my friend Pearly are like the two big targets. You can hit this thing with an Ash, and if you hit this thing with an Imperm, generally speaking, a lot of their boards just kind of fall apart, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Exactly like this situation here, but they're forced to just end their turn. 2 interruptions, that's all it takes. We draw for turn, drawing into the Awakening of the Crystal Ultimate here, banishing the Shield Bearer, and this right here, these 3 cards in hand, this is fucking incredible. The only way this will be in any way, shape, or form better is if you were to replace this card with like the Crystal Bridge of the Heart or whatever its name is. But yeah, nutty card here. We're going to go Pegasus, grabbing a Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon, banishing the dragon to summon the Carbuncle, so we can grab the Rainbow Dragon here. We could, of course, gone into the Cobalt Eagle, but the reason we didn't is we want to have this card engraved to potentially be resummoned later on. It's going to make sense in a moment. We're going to go Awakening of the Crystal Ultimate here, bringing back the Pegasus from the graveyard here. Pegasus going to stack a Rainbow Dragon into our extra, our back row essentially, using Golden Rule, and this is why it's important to have access to all of the cards. Golden Rule, now that we have a Carbuncle in our graveyard, we're able to bring back the Carbuncle off of Golden Rule, playing 2 Crystal Beasts from our deck with different names than the monster we're aiming to summon. That's why it can be a little bit tricky sometimes, and this is the correct execution of the card, because we bring back the Ruby Carbuncle. Ruby Carbuncle then summons as many monsters from your spell and trap card zone as possible. So there's 1 3k beater, 2 3k beaters, and we got our 2 1800s, of course having level 4s and level 8s to go into appropriate Exceed monsters if we were to go first for control purposes. Pegasus setting up additional monsters in the back row, going into the battle phase, and there's no point doing any fancy Exceed plays when you can simply beat thine ass. Going for lethal, easy game. And that's the thing about Golden Rule, and this is exactly what I wanted to show off. This OTK potential is the big game changer when it comes to Golden Rule. I don't want to show you standard Crystal Conclave gameplay. We've covered that in the past. There's no point, right? We already know what that looks like. I want to show off specifically Golden Rule and the aggressive options that the deck has, thanks to it and the Rainbow Dragons. So let's get into game 3. It is worth bearing in mind that not all of your aggression comes from Golden Rule, and in a lot of cases, the deck can put up enough damage to go for lethal through pretty much an awful lot of stuff, even if your hand isn't really the greatest here. So this hand is pretty decent. The one thing that really sort of hurts it is the fact we have Rainbow Dragon in hand. That means our Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon's effect is no longer usable. That is a big problem. But either way, we do have a solid enough hand to get gaming here. We have a Rainbow Bridge Awakening, we have the Shield Bearer for the Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus. We were able to pretty easily shut our opponent down here, and you'll notice that a lot of the games are coming off the back of us OTKing after having a couple of hand traps. We play a lot of ways of interrupting our opponent, and that is part of what gives the deck its going second potential. The fact that you're able to use hand traps to interrupt your opponent and prevent them from putting up a board that is going to be able to prevent you from going for lethal is a large part of what makes it viable. So Imperm being able to shut down the Labyrinth player here, perfect. Pegasus summons out a Crystal Beast to the back row. We're going to go for Awakening of the Crystal Ultimates here, revealing Rainbow Dragon. They're going to hit us with a Max C here. Whenever you get hit with Max C, this is an important lesson as well. As soon as you see Max C, your mission becomes put 8,000 damage on board with the least amount of summons possible. That is your mission. And here we saw a route to do it with 3 summons. So as long as they don't draw like Nib in the next 3 cards, we're fine. We summon a Carbuncle. Carbuncle summons the Rainbow Dragon from the back row, activating Rainbow Bridge again. On attack, summon out the Rainbow Dragon from the hand, and just like that, lethal. Again, not an incredible showing, not super complex, nothing crazy, and that's what the deck does. It uses its hand traps and its interruptions to prevent your opponent from setting up crazy boards, and then just like this, being able to put lethal damage on board with this deck is honestly a joke. It's so easy, and Golden Rule only makes it easier. But anyways, let's get into the deck profile and we'll talk a little bit more about the deck and about the cards. So obviously this video was more so showcasing the going second potential that Golden Rule and in general the Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon brings to the otherwise control based Crystal Beast deck. Now the first thing I want to talk about is flex. Now those are one of the biggest reasons that this deck actually succeeds is the fact that it can run so many cards in its flex spots. Now this particular list you're looking at actually has some of those flex spots cut down in favor of more aggressive options, but normally what we would do is with this version I would maybe cut Salvation as well as Necro Valley, and I would try to play either a couple of additional hand traps or maybe even some board breakers sometimes if I want to play not necessarily a dedicated going second deck, but maybe I want to play some Super Poly. It's kind of mid right now though. You know what I mean though, we'll play some board breakers potentially because the deck can put up pretty crazy damage, but if your opponent has too many interruptions, sometimes it's nice to have an evenly matched there to assist you in breaking that board down. But yeah, either way, there's a lot of flex spots. We got the Maxi Ash Blossoms, double call by, single cross out, double imperm here, and plenty of room for maneuvering. We also have the double shifter, which is an absolute game ender in a lot of situations. This card will solo entire decks, which is insane. But yeah, let's get through. We'll talk about the Crystal Beast first of all. So we have Ruby Carbuncle. When this card special summoned, you special summon as many Crystal Beast monsters from your spell and trap card zones as possible. Pretty straightforward. This guy is here for a name and a level. That is literally it. Ignore everything else about this card. And we've got Pegasus, which is actually your starter. Pegasus is like a 1-card magician in this deck. It's actually even better in Crystal Beast Mathmech. Whenever I was playing this, I would sometimes be in a position where the only thing I have is Pegasus, and I would go through my combo and I would set some stuff up, but if I didn't have any of my spells, or if I didn't have any extenders, I often felt that, okay, well I can set up like Baguska Pass on some hand traps here, which is decent, but it didn't really feel like I was giving the deck an identity. So I feel like the Mathmech version definitely takes better advantage of the advantage that Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus can generate, which we will be exploring in a future video. What does the card actually do? Well, it's very, very simple. Whenever it's summoned, you place a Crystal Beast monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard into your spell and trap card zone. That is not once per turn. None of the Crystal Beasts are. So that is absolutely mental, right? Being able to play something as powerful as our next card, the Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon, straight into your spell and trap card zone is pretty awesome, because this card, while being a face-up continuous spell, can banish itself to special summon a Crystal Beast straight from the deck, normally your Cobalt Eagle, or sometimes Ruby Carbuncle, depending on your hand, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but normally your Cobalt Eagle. It'll special summon a Crystal Beast from deck, and then you'll also add to your hand a Rainbow Dragon. Now that is very important because the Rainbow Dragon is necessary for some of your other plays, such as the Awakening of the Crystal Ultimates. This card also has another effect in that whenever an attack is declared involving one of your Crystal Beast monsters, it can special summon itself from the hand. So even in hand, it isn't a dead card and can actually be quite an aggressive card and a good card to have in hand as well, depending on obviously if you're going first or second or what. So Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon is definitely pretty damn awesome. We've got next up again, Rainbow Dragon is purely here for its name and nothing else. It is a hard break. You do not want to see this card in your opening hand. It shuts down quite a few of your different avenues and plays. We got Rainbow Bridge, which will search your deck for a crystal, spell, or trap card. Not once per turn. Pretty awesome searching spell. We got Crystal Bond, which is its main search target here, where you get to add a Crystal Beast monster from deck to hand, as well as placing a different Crystal Beast in your spell and trap card zone. Again, excellent for setting up your Ruby Carbuncle OTK by special summoning out a bunch of the dragons from your spell and trap card zone. This card is nuts. One of your best starters, far and away. Golden Rule, always treat it as a crystal card. That does make it searchable off of many of your other cards. I'm really glad they added that in, otherwise this card would have been not necessarily trash, but it wouldn't have been nearly as good as it is. Nearly. Apparently we say that word weirdly over here. But this card will essentially take 2 crystal... So it's weird, right? So you select 2 Crystal Beast monsters from your deck and play them in your spell and trap card zone, and then you select a Crystal Beast from your hand or graveyard whose name is different than the cards you selected, and you special summon it. So it's very important to sort of bear in mind what ones you have in hand and grave and what ones you have access to still in the deck before you use this card. Otherwise you might force yourself into a position where you're not summoning the right monster, and that is always a pain in the ass. So Golden Rule definitely takes a little bit of practice to get the hang of fully, but is just so rewarding as a card whenever you can pull it off, specifically because of how it works alongside the Ruby Carbuncle. You can place 2 cards in your spell and trap card zone and then special summon Ruby Carbuncle, but then you also get to immediately special summon the 2 monsters that you just played into your back row, which is insane, right? So absolutely, this card is mental. Playing more than one of it isn't really all that great because you will run out of gas very, very quickly, and you'll almost certainly not be able to resolve a secondary copy, and it is like super searchable, so you don't really need to worry too much about trying to hard draw it or anything like that, so that's fine. This card, however, you do want to see in your hand as often as possible. That is Rainbow Bridge of the Heart. This card is incredible. It has a few different effects. First and foremost, you can normal summon a regular Crystal Beast in addition to your normal summoner set for that turn. If a Crystal Beast monster is placed into your spell and trap card zone, you get to bounce out an opponent's card and this card back to the hand. And lastly, you can destroy a Crystal Beast card you control or one that's in your hand to add a crystal spell or trap directly from deck to hand. So it searches, it bounces, it gives you extra summons. This card is just incredible. Awakening of the Crystal Ultimates. Reveal a Rainbow Dragon in your hand, then either grab a Rainbow Bridge or Rainbow Refraction from deck, like your Heart, or you can, send one to grave, like your Salvation if you're running Salvation, or you can special summon a Crystal Beast from your hand, deck, graveyard, or spell and trap card zone, like the Ruby Carbuncle. So there's quite a lot that can be done with this card, absolutely. Quite a lot that can be done, and it does take a little bit of practice to spot your opportunities, especially in combination with Golden Rule, so do bear that in mind, but it is a ridiculously powerful card. Basically just E-Telly for the deck, which is insane. Got Crystal Mirage, which will allow you to pop a Crystal Beast card you control to negate the activation of a spell, trap, or monster effect. It's basically just an Omni-Negate. And Crystal Conclave has a couple of different effects. Once per turn, if a Crystal Beast monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you get to special summon a different one to replace it. And you can send this card to the graveyard to target a Crystal Beast you control and any card your opponent controls that bounce both back to hand. So it's got removal and it's got recursion. It's a pretty decent card. I'm only playing it at 1. Some people play it at 2, sometimes even a 3 in quote-unquote Crystal Conclave, Crystal Beast decks, which it kind of sort of is what this is and kind of isn't at the same time. This was definitely a much more aggressive version of it, not designed to go second, but designed to be better going second than what a regular version of the deck would be. So yeah, we were playing it a little bit more aggressively, meaning we only had the 1 Conclave, but you could very easily pump that up. In terms of the main deck, the only cards we haven't talked about are the little wind package here. We got the Noble Knights card, which will banish itself from hand to grab yourself a level 6 or lower wind beast monster. That will be your Sapphire Pegasus, or if you already have Sapphire Pegasus, your Dynafurium, which will special summon itself from hand, but your opponent gets to special summon a level 4 monster in either graveyard. But if you, again, begin your turn with this guy, then it's just a level 4 special summon with 0 drawback. So yeah, pretty straightforward and pretty powerful card. So that does the whole main deck. Again, main deck, really not that complicated. A lot of the Crystal Beast cards are super straightforward because they're super old. So yeah, you're not really going to be tripping yourself up too much. Again, this is probably not the most optimal build because it is meant more so for just showing off Golden Rule. But either way, again, like I said, we were just winning left, right, and center. Sometimes just having 1 or 2 hand traps followed by huge OTK potential is enough for you to win a shocking amount of games. It was just incredible. The extra deck, a lot of this is just generic level 4 or rank 4 support. and just generic links, to be honest. It's just generic monsters. Abyss Dweller locks your opponent out of using the graveyard. Chidori on summon will spin a set card back in your opponent's deck and can return a face-up card back to the top of the deck. So Chidori is good for some spot removal. Trident, spot removal. Borbo and Chakanine both to enable Zeus even easier. Borbo can attack your opponent directly, meaning it can summon Zeus very easily. Baguska is a monster you'll be using a lot, actually. It basically just switches everything to defense and negates the activated effects of any monster that activates while in defense, making it a pretty powerful floodgate against a lot of different decks. Hope Harbinger, our go-to rank 8, is a generic spell negate, as well as controlling your opponent's attack targets. Dingirsu on summon will send a card your opponent controls to the graveyard. I'm like always stuck between this guy and number 90. I'm always stuck between these two, so you can play whichever one you want, whichever one you think is better, whichever one you have access to, whatever. Or any other generic rank 8 also does the job, but yeah. We got Zeus to be wiping out the field. Cerberus, pop a special summon monster. Phoenix, pop a spell or trap. Masquerena, link summon on your opponent's turn into the likes of a Nightmare Unicorn, which will allow you to spin a card back to your opponent's deck. Access Code Talker, boost up to 5300. Pop a bunch of cards, get swinging. And finally, the Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, which will essentially act as a kaiju to help you get rid of really problematic situations and monsters for your opponent. You can vomit monsters onto the board significantly easier now that you have Golden Rule. So being able to go into Goddess really isn't all that much of a demand. So yeah, absolutely play Goddess. And that's it. I know we went really quickly through the extra deck there, but like I said, it's mainly just generic link and rank 4s and link monsters. Like, it's nothing special. There's no unique interactions. It's just generic monsters. You can put whatever you sort of want in those slots. But I really feel like this lineup in particular is probably close-ish or closer to what you want to be seeing out of optimal Crystal Beast, if you will. What I am going to be testing over the next while is the Mathmech Crystal Beast, just to see if Golden Rule actually brings anything to the deck. It would be nice to see if I could put an additional Negate or Harbinger, potentially something like Lancelot. If I could bring that up. No, apparently I don't know how to spell. So there's a rank 8 exceed called Lancelot. This one here, yeah, Lancelot. So this is basically a generic spell trap negate, or it's just an omni negate actually, which is pretty good. So this card will be very useful to summon alongside our Mathmech end board, because it will protect us from evenly matched. So I would probably play Lancelot over something like Orgust in the Mathmech version. But yeah, again, I'm rambling as if I'm talking about that deck right now. I'm not. This video is about regular Crystal Beast, so if you're interested in picking up the deck, you can pick something up like this, maybe modify it a little bit once you've got some practice under your belt, but this is definitely a pretty solid introduction to the deck. If you want to learn more about it or get the input of players who have more experience than I do, absolutely join the Discord below and you can start asking questions in there. A lot of people know more than I do about this deck, so it is worth asking. But yes, that pretty much wraps us up here for today. So if you got this far into the video, subscribe, like the video if you enjoyed watching it, and I'll see you around. Bye bye.